The Arxelian research vessel moved slowly through the darkness of space. Its scanner light swept across the dead planet below. Commander Krixthor stood at the main window, his 6 legs tapping nervously on the metal floor. Behind him, the crew worked at their stations, checking the strange readings that had brought them here. "Commander, the energy patterns are getting stronger," said Officer Velshaw. Her voice clicked through her translator. This planet was supposed to be empty. Dead for centuries. Krixthor's antennae twitched. The Arxelians were careful creatures. They did not rush into danger. But this discovery was too important to ignore. The old record spoke of human colonies that had vanished during something called the Great Silence. 600 years ago, thousands of human ships had left their homeworld. Most never sent another message back. "Prepare the landing team," Krixthor ordered. "We go down at first light." The planet was called Kepler 442c in the old human star charts. When the landing shuttle touched down, the team found something impossible. Buildings stood tall and straight. Streets were clean. The metal and glass structures looked almost new. But no one was there. No sounds, no movement. Just silence. "This is wrong," Velshaw whispered. "After 600 years, everything should be ruins. Plants should have grown over everything, but look, it is like they left yesterday." Krixthor walked slowly through the empty streets. His scientific mind searched for answers. The buildings had power. Lights glowed softly in some windows. Computer systems hummed quietly in the walls. Someone had left this place running, expecting to return. They found the colony's central computer in a tall tower at the city's heart. The screens showed maps and information in the old human language. Velshaw connected her translation device. The colony name was New Providence, she read aloud. Population 45,000. Status quarantine protocol active. Date of last entry March 15th, 2247. Quarantine? Krixthor's voice showed his worry. Why would they quarantine themselves? The computer led them deeper into the city. Below the buildings they found tunnels. The tunnels led down into the planet's crust. Emergency lights lit their way. On the walls they saw signs. Big red symbols with words in many languages. Most said the same thing. Warning, authorized personnel only, containment area. "Commander, perhaps we should return to the ship," Velshaw suggested. "Call for more help. Bigger equipment. Security forces." Krixthor knew she was right. But he was a scientist first. His curiosity burned bright. "Just a little further," he said. "We will only look. Then we return." They reached a massive door at the end of the tunnel. It was made of thick metal, sealed tight. Control panels on the side still showed power. One of the team's engineers worked on the lock. After several minutes, something clicked. Air hissed. The door began to slide open. Beyond the door, they found a chamber filled with strange machines. And in the center of the room, arranged in neat rows, were hundreds of glass and metal pods. Each pod was the size of a bed. Frost covered their surfaces. Inside each one, dark shapes could be seen through the ice. "Cryopods," breathed Velshaw. They put themselves to sleep. Krixthor approached the nearest pod. He wiped away the frost with his gloved hand. A human face stared back at him through the glass. A woman, young, her eyes closed in frozen sleep. She wore some kind of uniform. On the uniform's shoulder was a patch with words, "New Providence Defense Force." "Defense Force?" Krixthor said slowly. "This was a military colony?" Before anyone could answer, the pod's control panel lit up. Numbers and symbols appeared on a small screen. The engineer jumped back in surprise. "What did you do?" Krixthor demanded. "Nothing. I touched nothing," the engineer insisted. "The pod activated on its own." The frost on the pod began to melt. Liquid drained away through tubes. The woman inside twitched. Her fingers moved. Her eyes opened suddenly, wide and confused. She saw the Arxelians staring at her. Her mouth opened in a silent scream. The pod hissed and clicked. Its seal broke. The lid lifted slowly. The woman sat up, breathing hard, her hands shaking. She looked around the chamber at the other pods, at the aliens standing before her. When she spoke, her voice was rough from centuries of sleep. "How long?" she asked in the old human language. "How long have we been asleep?" Velshaw's translator worked quickly. 600 years, she answered. "We are the Arxelians. We came from the Galactic Council." "We mean no harm," the woman stared at them. Then she looked down at her hands, at her uniform, at the room around her. Slowly, her face changed. Fear replaced confusion. "No," she said. "No, no, no. You should not have come here. You should not have opened this place. We are scientists, Crixthor explained. We only want to learn, to understand what happened here. The woman climbed out of the pod. She was weak, her legs shaking, but she moved with purpose. She went to the control panel and began pressing buttons. Her movements became faster, more desperate. You need to leave, she said. Right now. Leave this planet. Leave this system. Forget you ever found us. We cannot leave without understanding, Crixthor said. Please tell us what happened. Why did your people go to sleep? The woman stopped. She turned to face them. In her eyes, Crixthor saw something that made his blood run cold. It was not anger. It was not hate. It was terror. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen, she said quietly, and we went to sleep because we found something. Something that should have stayed hidden, something that even we could not fight. Behind them, throughout the massive chamber, other pods began to light up. One by one, their screens flickered to life. The wake cycle had started, and there was no way to stop it. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in front of the aliens trying to stay calm. Her body was weak from 600 years of frozen sleep. Her mind felt foggy, but she remembered everything. She remembered why they had gone into the pods. She remembered what they had found. You need to shut down the wake sequence, she said to the insect creatures. Now, before the others wake up. Commander Crixthor's translator made clicking sounds as it worked. Why, they are your people. Surely you want them awake. Sarah shook her head. She moved to a computer terminal and began typing. Her fingers remembered the codes even after all this time. The screen showed the facility's layout, level after level going down into the planet. Each level had more pods, more sleepers. My people are not like other humans, Sarah said. New Providence was not a normal colony. We were sent here for a reason, a secret reason. She pulled up files on the screen. Images appeared. Velsha leaned closer to see. The images showed humans, but they were different. Some had metal parts attached to their bodies. Others had strange marks on their skin that glowed. Some were bigger than normal humans with muscles that looked wrong. Too big, too strong. What are these? Velsha asked. Her voice was quiet. Enhanced humans, Sarah explained. Earth made laws against changing people, against making them stronger or faster, against putting machines inside them. But some people said humans needed to be ready for threats from space, ready for war. She pulled up more files. Video recordings began to play. The Arxelians watched as human soldiers moved through training exercises. They moved too fast. They lifted weights that should have been impossible. They fought with weapons that seemed part of their own bodies. New Providence was where we sent the enhanced ones, Sarah continued. Far from Earth, far from the other colonies. We called it Project Ascension. We were preparing for something we hoped would never come. Preparing for what? Crixthor demanded. Sarah's hand shook as she typed in more commands. The screen changed. It showed a map of the galaxy. Red markers appeared in the outer regions. Dozens of them. Earth's deep space probes found evidence, she said. Signs of an ancient civilization. A civilization that built weapons. Weapons designed to destroy everything. We found pieces of these weapons. Dead machines floating in the dark between stars. The chamber around them filled with sound. The other cryopods were opening. Sarah's eyes went wide. No, it is too soon. I need more time to explain. Glass lids lifted. Frost melted away. Men and women began to sit up in their pods. Like Sarah, they wore uniforms. But these uniforms were different. Heavier, more armor than cloth. And the people wearing them were bigger, stronger. Their eyes opened, and those eyes glowed slightly in the dim light. A man in the nearest pod climbed out. He was nearly 7 feet tall. Scars covered his arms. Metal ports were built into his skull behind his ears. He looked at Sarah, then at the Arxelians. His hand went to his belt, searching for a weapon that was not there. Status report, Doctor, the big man said. His voice was deep and rough. General Reeves, Sarah said quickly. We have visitors. They are from something called the Galactic Council. They are peaceful. They found us by accident. General Marcus Reeves looked at the Arxelians. His enhanced eyes scanned them from head to feet. The Arxelians could feel his gaze like a physical thing. This human was dangerous. Every movement he made was controlled. Perfect, like a weapon waiting to be used. How long have we been under? Reeves asked. 600 years, sir. Reeves closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, something had changed in his expression. Then it is still here, in the system, waiting. More soldiers were climbing from their pods now. 20, 30, 50. Each one bigger and stronger than normal humans. They moved to stand behind Reeves, forming ranks without being told. It was automatic. Training that had been burned into them. Crixthor stepped forward. He tried to keep his voice steady. General Reeves, I am Commander Crixthor of the Arxelian Survey Fleet. We came here looking for lost colonies. We did not know anyone was still alive. Lost colonies, Reeves repeated. Is that what we are now, lost? He looked around the chamber. I suppose we are. Earth probably thinks we are dead. Everyone we knew is dead. General, Sarah said. I was trying to explain to them. About the project. About why we went to sleep. Reeves nodded slowly. Show them, he said. Show them everything. They need to understand what they have stumbled into. Sarah led the group deeper into the facility. They went downstairs and through corridors. The enhanced soldiers followed silently. Their footsteps made no sound despite their size. The Arxelians felt like prey animals walking among predators. They reached a laboratory. Banks of computers lined the walls. In the center of the room stood a containment chamber. It was a cube of clear material, 10 feet on each side. Inside the cube was something dark, something that hurt to look at. We called it Entity Zero, Sarah said. We found it in the outer system, floating in an asteroid field. At first we thought it was just debris, a piece of an old spacecraft. Velsha moved closer to the containment chamber. The thing inside was hard to see clearly. It seemed to shift and change. Part machine, part organic, neither alive nor dead. We brought it here to study, Sarah continued. We wanted to understand it, to learn how it worked. That was our mistake. What does it do? Crixthor asked. It replicates, Reeves said. It takes any matter it touches and converts it. Metal, plastic, flesh, everything becomes part of it. And then it makes more of itself. Sarah pulled up more files. Video footage showed scientists working with a small piece of the entity. They placed it on a metal plate. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the metal began to change. It grew dark. Tendrils spread across the surface like living veins. Within seconds, the entire plate had been consumed. It adapts, Sarah said. Every time we tried to destroy a sample, it learned. Fire did not work. Acid did not work. Radiation made it grow faster. The only thing that stopped it was complete isolation. No energy, no matter. Nothing for it to feed on. So you locked it away, Velsha said. And you went to sleep. We went to sleep because we detected more of them, Reeves said. Out there, in the dark. Hundreds of these things. Maybe thousands. All dormant. All waiting. The general walked to a window that looked out over the laboratory. We realized what they were, probes, scouts sent by whatever civilization built them. They spread through the galaxy, consuming everything in their path, and when they are done, they send a signal back to their makers. An alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Red lights began to flash. Sarah ran to a computer terminal. Her face went pale as she read the screen. The containment field, she said. It is failing. When you opened the facility, you must have disrupted the power systems. The field is degrading. Crixthor felt his heart racing. How long do we have? Sarah looked at him. In her eyes was the same terror he had seen before. But now he understood why. Minutes. Maybe less. General Reeves turned to his soldiers. When he spoke, his voice was calm. Cold. The voice of a man who had prepared for this moment. Wake everyone. All levels. Get them armed and ready. This is what we trained for. The enhanced soldiers moved instantly, running back toward the cryo-chambers. Reeves looked at the Arxelians. You should go. Get back to your ship. Leave this system as fast as you can. What about you? Velsha asked. What will you do? Reeves looked back at the containment chamber. The dark thing inside was moving now, pressing against the walls of its prison. We will do what we were made to do. We will fight. The containment field flickered. For just a second, it went dark. In that second, a tendril of the entity reached through. It touched the floor of the laboratory, and where it touched, the floor began to change. The laboratory exploded into chaos. The containment field failed completely. Entity Zero burst free from its prison like water from a broken dam. The dark substance spread across the floor in every direction, moving with terrible purpose. Run, General Reeves shouted. He grabbed Sarah and pushed her toward the door. The Arxelians did not need to be told twice. They turned and fled down the corridor, their legs moving as fast as they could. Behind them, they heard a horrible sound. Metal was screaming. The entity was consuming the laboratory. Walls, computers, everything, and it was growing, spreading, hunting. They reached the cryo chamber. Hundreds of enhanced soldiers were awake now. They moved through the chamber with incredible speed, grabbing weapons from storage lockers, rifles that looked too big for normal humans, blades that glowed with strange energy, armor that seemed to flow onto their bodies like liquid metal. A young woman ran past, her movement so fast she was almost a blur. On her arms were metal bands that sparked with electricity. Her eyes glowed bright blue. She looked barely 20 years old, but Crixthor could see the scars, the marks of someone who had fought and killed. "Lieutenant Bishop," Reeves called out. "Status." The young woman stopped instantly. "Sir, all personnel on levels 1 through 5 are awake and armed. Levels 6 through 10 are coming online now. We have approximately 3,000 combat-ready soldiers." "Good. Form defensive lines. Nothing gets past us. Nothing gets to the surface." Bishop nodded and ran off. Reeves turned to Crixthor and his team. "You need to leave now. The entity will spread through the entire facility within hours. When it reaches critical mass, it will explode outward. It will consume this planet. Then it will reach for the stars. What will you do?" Velsha asked. "You cannot fight this thing. You said yourselves that nothing stops it." Reeves smiled. It was not a happy smile. "We can slow it down, buy you time to escape, and then we will destroy everything. This facility has antimatter charges buried deep beneath it, enough to turn this entire region into dust." Sarah grabbed Crixthor's arm. "You need to take the research data. Everything we learned about Entity Zero, about the other entities out there. The galaxy needs to know what is coming." She pulled a small device from her pocket. "A data chip. This has everything. 600 years of research, analysis, predictions. You need to warn your Galactic Council. This is not just about one planet. It is about survival." Crixthor took the chip with shaking hands. "What about you? Come with us. You do not have to die here." Sarah looked around at the soldiers preparing for battle. "These are my people. This was my research that brought that thing here. I cannot leave them. I will not leave them." An explosion shook the chamber. The entity had breached the laboratory corridor. The lights flickered. Emergency alarms screamed warnings through the facility. "Go," Reeves commanded. "Now!" 2 enhanced soldiers grabbed the Arxelians and practically carried them toward the exit. They moved through corridors at impossible speed. Behind them, they heard weapons fire. The battle had begun. When they burst out onto the surface, Crixthor looked back at the colony. Smoke was rising from the underground facility. The ground was shaking. Through the windows of the buildings, he could see dark shapes moving. The entity was spreading faster than anyone had predicted. The soldiers pushed them into their shuttle. "Get to orbit. Tell your ship to move away from the planet. When the antimatter charges go off, the blast will reach into space." "Wait," Velsha said. "What are your names?" "We should know your names, so we can tell others what you did here." The 2 soldiers looked at each other. One was a man with silver metal covering half his face. The other was a woman with arms that ended in weapon ports instead of hands. "Sergeant Marcus Webb," the man said. "Corporal Lisa Zhang," the woman added. "We will remember," Crixthor promised. The shuttle lifted off. As it rose into the sky, Crixthor watched the soldiers below. They turned and ran back toward the facility, back toward the battle, back toward certain death. In the underground levels, the enhanced soldiers held their ground. They fought with weapons the Arxelians had never seen. Energy beams that could cut through solid steel, grenades that created miniature black holes, armor that could withstand temperatures hot enough to melt rock. But Entity Zero was relentless. For every piece they destroyed, it grew back 2 more. It learned from every attack, adapted to every weapon. The dark substance flowed like water through the corridors, consuming everything in its path. Lieutenant Bishop fought at the front line. Her enhanced body moved faster than normal eyes could follow. She destroyed sections of the entity with focused energy blasts, but she knew it was hopeless. They were not trying to win. They were trying to buy time. "All units fall back to level 3, Reeves ordered through the communication system. "Seal the blast doors behind you." The soldiers retreated in perfect formation. They moved as one unit, covering each other, never breaking ranks. Even in the face of death, their training held. They were not running in fear. They were executing a plan. In the command center, Sarah worked at a computer terminal. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had spent 600 years in frozen sleep, who had dedicated her life to understanding Entity Zero. She entered the codes that would activate the antimatter charges. Her hands did not shake. She knew what she was doing. "General," she said quietly, "the charges are armed. We can detonate whenever you give the order." Reeves stood at a window watching his soldiers fight. These men and women had volunteered for Project Ascension. They had given up normal lives to become weapons, and now they would give up their lives to save a galaxy that did not even know they existed. "How long until the aliens are safe?" he asked. Sarah checked her screens. "Their ship is moving away from the planet now. At current speed, they will be outside the blast radius in 15 minutes. Then we hold for 15 minutes. The entity broke through the blast doors on level 5. It poured into the corridor like a living flood. The soldiers opened fire with everything they had. The air filled with energy beams, bullets, explosions. The walls glowed red from the heat of the weapons. Lieutenant Bishop led a charge directly into the entity. She and her squad moved so fast they seemed to teleport. Their weapons carved holes in the dark mass. But it was like fighting the ocean. No matter how much they destroyed, more kept coming. "Bishop, fall back," Reeves ordered. "Negative, sir," Bishop replied. "We can hold them here. We can buy you more time." A tendril of Entity Zero reached out and touched one of Bishop's squad members. The soldier screamed. His armor began to dissolve. His flesh turned dark. Within seconds, he was part of the entity. Part of the growing mass. "Fall back now," Reeves roared. "That is an order." Bishop and her remaining squad members retreated. They sealed the blast doors behind them. Through the thick metal, they could hear the entity pounding, searching for a way through. It would not take long. In orbit, the Arxelian ship accelerated away from the planet. Crixthor stood at the viewing window, the data chip clutched in his hand. He watched the planet below, watched the lights of the colony flicker and die, watched the dark stain spread across the surface. "Commander," his pilot said, "we are now outside the predicted blast radius. We are safe." Crixthor opened a communication channel. "New Providence Colony, this is Commander Crixthor. We are clear. We are safe. Thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice." In the command center deep below the planet's surface, General Reeves heard the message. He looked at Sarah. She nodded. Her finger hovered over the detonation button. "For humanity," Sarah said quietly. "For the galaxy," Reeves added. Sarah pressed the button. For one brief moment, nothing happened. Then the world turned to white. The antimatter explosion was like a new sun being born. The planet cracked open. Mountains vaporized. Oceans turned to steam in microseconds. The blast wave expanded outward, carrying the remains of New Providence into space. On the Arxelian ship, alarms screamed. The blast wave hit them even at their safe distance. The ship shook violently. Crixthor grabbed onto a railing to keep from falling. The lights flickered. Then, slowly, the shaking stopped. The alarms went quiet. "Damage report," Crixthor ordered. "Minor hull damage, Commander," the engineering officer reported. "Nothing serious. We are lucky we got away when we did." Crixthor looked at the viewing screen. Where the planet had been, there was now only debris. Rocks and dust spreading slowly through space. A graveyard. He thought of General Reeves, of Dr. Sarah Chen, of Lieutenant Bishop and all the others. They had given their lives to stop Entity Zero. But had they succeeded? "Velsha," he said, "scan the debris field. Look for any signs of the entity, any unusual readings." Velsha worked at her station for several minutes. Finally, she looked up. "Nothing, Commander. No organic readings. No unusual energy signatures. Whatever that thing was, it is gone." Crixthor felt relief wash over him, but also sadness. The humans of New Providence had sacrificed everything, and the galaxy would never know. He looked down at the data chip in his hand. Unless he told them. "Set course for the nearest Galactic Council station," he ordered. "Maximum speed. We need to deliver this information as quickly as possible." As the ship jumped to faster than light travel, Crixthor went to his quarters. He inserted the data chip into his computer. Files appeared on the screen. Hundreds of them. Thousands. All the research that New Providence had done on Entity Zero. He began to read. The more he read, the more his fear grew. Entity Zero was not alone. The humans had tracked dozens of similar signals in deep space. These entities were not random. They were part of something. A pattern. A plan. One file caught his attention. It was marked classified, highest level. He opened it. Inside was a video message. The image showed General Reeves, but younger. His face had fewer scars. This recording was old, made before they went into cryosleep. "If you are watching this," Reeves said in the video, "then you have found New Providence. You have seen what we discovered, and you know what we did to stop it." Reeves paused. He looked tired. "I need to tell you the full truth. Entity Zero was not the first of these things we found, it was the seventh. The others we managed to destroy or contain. But with each one we learned more about them, about where they came from." The video showed star charts, images of deep space. "These entities are probes, scouts sent by a civilization that existed billions of years ago, a civilization so advanced, so powerful, that they could have ruled the entire galaxy. But they did not want to rule. They wanted to consume, to take everything and make it part of themselves." Crixthor felt his blood run cold. A civilization that consumed entire worlds, and it was still out there, waiting. "The entities spread through space," Reeves continued. "They find systems with life, with resources, and they feed. When they have consumed enough, when they have grown strong enough, they send a signal, a call back to their masters, and their masters wake up." The general looked directly at the camera. "We destroyed Entity Zero, but we could not stop the signal. When we broke containment, when we tried to fight it, the entity sent out a pulse, a message. We detected it leaving the system at the speed of light." Crixthor grabbed the edge of his desk. No, it could not be true. The humans had sacrificed themselves for nothing? "By the time you watch this," Reeves said, "the signal will have traveled for 600 years or more. It may have already reached its destination. Or maybe not. Maybe we still have time. That is why we stayed. Why we went into cryosleep. We hoped that someone would find us. Someone who could warn the galaxy. Someone who could prepare." The video showed another person joining Reeves, Dr. Sarah Chen, also younger. "We were wrong to study Entity Zero," she said. "We thought we could understand it, control it. But some things should not be understood. Some things should stay buried. However," Sarah continued, "we learned valuable information. This data chip contains everything we discovered. Battle tactics, weaknesses, ways to slow the entities down if not stop them completely. If the ancient enemy comes, if they wake up, the galaxy will need this information." Reeves stepped forward again. "You also need to know about the other colonies. New Providence was not alone. Humanity created dozens of secret colonies, hidden bases, each one filled with enhanced soldiers like us, each one prepared for war." A map appeared on the screen. Stars were marked with red dots, dozens of them, all throughout the galaxy. "These are the locations," Reeves said. "Some may still be active, some may have failed. But they are out there, waiting. If you want to survive what is coming, you will need to wake them up. You will need humanity's monsters to fight the real monsters." The video ended. Crixthor sat in silence for a long moment. Then he called Velsha to his quarters. He showed her the video. Together they looked at the star map, at all those red dots representing hidden human colonies. "Commander," Velsha said quietly, "what do we do?" Crixthor thought about the enhanced humans, about how terrifying they had been, how powerful, how dangerous. The idea of waking up dozens of colonies filled with such warriors frightened him, but the idea of facing the ancient enemy without them frightened him more. "We tell the Council," he decided. "We give them the data. We let them decide. But first, we need to verify the signal. We need to know if the ancient enemy is really coming." They accessed the sensor logs from New Providence. The data showed the signal that Entity Zero had sent. A pulse of energy, traveling at light speed, heading toward a specific point in space. Velsha calculated the destination. "The signal is heading for the void sector," she said. The empty region beyond the galactic rim. Nothing is supposed to be out there. Crixthor pulled up older astronomical data. The void sector had always been a mystery. No stars, no planets, just empty space. But now he looked at it differently. What if it was not empty? What if something was hiding there, something waiting for a signal? How long until the signal reaches the void sector? He asked. Velsha checked her calculations. Her face went pale. Commander, according to this data, the signal should have reached the void sector 10 years ago. Crixthor felt his heart stop. 10 years. The signal had arrived 10 years ago. If something was out there, if it had received the message, it could already be awake. Already be coming. Send a probe to the void sector, he ordered. Fastest possible speed. We need to know what is out there. Commander, that will take months, maybe years. I know. But we need confirmation. We need proof before we ask the Council to wake up every hidden human colony in the galaxy. The probe was launched. The Arxalian ship continued toward the nearest Council station, and in the void sector, in the darkness between stars, something ancient stirred. It had been sleeping for billions of years, waiting, dreaming of the day when its probes would find new worlds to consume. The signal had arrived. The call had been answered. It was time to wake up, time to feed. The ancient machines began to move, slowly at first after such a long sleep. But they would gain speed. They would spread through the galaxy like a plague, and nothing would stop them. Nothing except the one species that had prepared for this moment. The one species that had seen the threat coming and had made themselves into weapons. Humanity. But they were asleep, scattered across the galaxy in hidden colonies. And time was running out. Crixthor looked at the star map one more time, at all those red dots, at all those sleeping warriors. He had found New Providence by accident. But maybe it was not an accident. Maybe it was fate. Maybe the galaxy needed to discover what had been hidden, because the real monsters were coming, and only humanity's monsters could stop them. 3 months later, Crixthor stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was massive, designed to hold representatives from 100 different species. Today it was completely full. Every seat was taken. Every species wanted to hear about the discovery of New Providence. The council leader, a being made of pure energy called Jatik, floated at the center of the chamber. Its voice echoed through everyone's translator. Commander Crixthor, you have brought concerning information to this council. Please present your findings. Crixthor activated the holographic display. Images from New Providence appeared in the air above the chamber. The ruined planet, the enhanced humans, Entity Zero. The representatives gasped and whispered among themselves. We discovered a lost human colony called New Providence, Crixthor began. The colony was conducting illegal research. They were creating enhanced soldiers, warriors modified to fight an enemy that the rest of the galaxy did not know existed. He showed them footage of the soldiers in action. The representatives watched in silence as the enhanced humans fought Entity Zero. They saw the incredible speed, the devastating weapons. The cold efficiency of humans turned into living weapons. These humans discovered something, Crixthor continued. A probe from an ancient civilization. A civilization that existed billions of years ago. A civilization whose only purpose was to consume all life in the galaxy. The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives shouted questions. Some demanded proof. Others insisted it was impossible. Jatik raised its glowing form and the chamber fell silent. Continue, Commander, Jatik said. Crixthor showed them the data from the chip, all the research, all the warnings. The humans sacrificed themselves to destroy Entity Zero. But before it died, the entity sent a signal. A message to its creators. That signal reached the void sector 10 years ago. He pulled up the probe data, the data they had just received that morning. The chamber went completely silent as the image appeared. In the void sector, something was moving, something massive. Not one ship, not 10, but thousands. An entire fleet of ancient machines all heading toward the galactic core. By our calculations, Crixthor said, his voice shaking, This fleet will reach the first inhabited systems within 5 years, maybe less. When they arrive, they will do what Entity Zero tried to do. They will consume everything. Convert it. Use it to build more of themselves. And they will not stop until the entire galaxy is theirs. The chamber exploded into chaos again. Representatives were shouting. Some called for immediate evacuation. Others demanded military action. A few simply sat in shocked silence. Velsha stepped forward to join Crixthor. "There is more," she said. The humans knew this was coming. They prepared. They created not just one colony of enhanced soldiers, but dozens, maybe hundreds, all hidden throughout the galaxy, all waiting to be awakened. She displayed the star map. All those red dots, all those hidden colonies. This is humanity's secret, she said. This is what they have been hiding. Not just enhanced soldiers, but an entire shadow military. An army built to fight a war that everyone else thought was impossible. A representative from the Keltharian Empire stood up. Its crystalline body reflected the holographic lights. "You expect us to trust humans? To wake up their secret armies? These enhanced soldiers you showed us are terrifying. They are weapons. If we wake them, what stops them from turning on us?" Crixthor had expected this question. "I watched them fight," he said. "I watched them sacrifice themselves to save us. General Reeves and his people could have fled. They could have escaped. But they stayed. They gave their lives so that we could survive, so that we could warn you." He pulled up the final video, the message from Sarah Chen. In it, she spoke directly to whoever would find them. Her words were simple but powerful. "We know you will fear us. We know we are monsters in your eyes, but we are monsters that humanity created to protect life, not to destroy it. If the ancient enemy comes, you will need monsters like us. Because only monsters can fight monsters," the video ended. The chamber was silent. Finally, Jathik spoke. "The council must decide. Do we wake the human colonies? Do we risk trusting these enhanced soldiers? Or do we try to fight the ancient enemy on our own?" The vote took hours. Representatives argued back and forth. Some species refused to accept that the threat was real. Others wanted to evacuate immediately. A few suggested surrendering to the ancient machines, hoping they would be spared. But in the end, survival won over fear. The vote was passed. The Galactic Council would send ships to the locations on the human star map. They would wake the sleeping colonies. They would activate humanity's secret army. Crixthor volunteered to lead one of the expeditions. Velsha joined him. Together, they traveled to the nearest marked location, a small moon orbiting a dead star. According to the map, this colony was called Hope Station. They found it buried deep beneath the moon's surface. Like New Providence, it was preserved perfectly. The power was still running. The defenses were still active. And in the cryo chambers, thousands of enhanced humans waited in frozen sleep. Crixthor stood before the first pod. Inside, a man slept peacefully. On his uniform was the same patch they had seen before. Hope Station Defense Force. Crixthor placed his hand on the control panel. "Are you sure about this?" Velsha asked. "Once we wake them, we cannot put them back to sleep." Crixthor thought about New Providence, about General Reeves and Dr. Sarah Chen, about Lieutenant Bishop and all the others who had died to save them. "The ancient enemy is coming," he said. "Whether we like it or not. We need humanity's monsters, because they were right. Only monsters can fight monsters." He activated the wake sequence. The pod began to hum. Frost melted from the glass. Inside, the man's eyes opened. They glowed slightly in the dim light, enhanced, modified, dangerous, but also their only hope. The man sat up slowly. He looked at Crixthor and Velsha. When he spoke, his voice was rough from centuries of sleep. "How long?" 600 years, Crixthor answered. "And the enemy you prepared for is coming. We need your help. The galaxy needs your help." The man climbed out of his pod. He stretched his enhanced muscles, tested his augmented reflexes. Then he looked at the rows of pods around them. Thousands of sleeping soldiers. "Wake them," he said. "Wake them all. If the ancient enemy is coming, then humanity will be ready. We have been ready for 600 years. Across the galaxy, on dozens of hidden moons and forgotten planets, the same scene played out. Human soldiers woke from their long sleep. They armed themselves. They prepared for war. Not a war for territory or resources, but a war for the survival of all life in the galaxy. The Galactic Council watched nervously as the human colonies activated. They saw the enhanced soldiers gathering, training, building weapons. And they were afraid. Afraid of what they had unleashed. Afraid of what these human monsters might do. But Krixthor was not afraid. Not anymore. He had seen these humans fight. He had seen them sacrifice, and he understood what General Reeves had meant. Yes, they were monsters. Yes, they were terrifying. But they were monsters who chose to protect life rather than destroy it. The ancient enemy was coming. A force that had consumed galaxies. A power that had ended civilizations. But they had not faced humanity before. They had not faced a species that would turn itself into weapons to protect others. They had not faced monsters who fought for life instead of death. In the void sector, the ancient machines continued their approach. They did not know that they had awakened something. Something that had been waiting, planning, preparing. They thought they were the ultimate predators, the final force in the galaxy. They were wrong, because what the ancient civilization had unearthed was not just a lost colony. It was not just a secret army. What they had unearthed was humanity's darkest creation and brightest hope. Warriors who would fight not because they were ordered to, but because they chose to. Soldiers who understood that sometimes to protect life, you had to become death itself. Krixthor stood on Hope Station and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the ancient enemy was coming, but the galaxy was ready now, thanks to the humans of New Providence, thanks to their sacrifice, thanks to the warning they had left behind. He clutched the data chip that Sarah Chen had given him. On it were not just battle plans and research notes. There was also a personal message, one final recording that she had made before going into cryosleep. He played it now. Sarah's face appeared younger but with the same determined eyes. "To whoever finds us," she said, "thank you for listening. Thank you for understanding. We know what we are. We know what we have become. But we did not do this for glory. We did not do this for power. We did this because someone had to. Someone had to be ready for the darkness that was coming." She smiled sadly. "The things we found, the knowledge we gained, should have stayed hidden. We know that. But sometimes the wrong thing done for the right reasons is the only choice left. Protect the galaxy, protect life, and remember us not as monsters but as humans who gave everything to save others." The message ended. Krixthor looked at Velshaw. She was crying. Even their translator could not hide the emotion in her voice when she spoke. They knew. They knew they would be forgotten. That history would remember them as experiments, as weapons, as things to be feared, but they did it anyway. "Then we will not forget," Krixthor said firmly. "We will tell their story. We will make sure the galaxy knows what they did, what they sacrificed, and when the ancient enemy arrives, when the enhanced humans go into battle, we will remember that they fight not because they are monsters, but because they are heroes." The war was coming, the ancient enemy was approaching, and the galaxy was about to learn that some things should stay hidden, but some secrets, when revealed at the right time, can save everything. New Providence had been one of those secrets, and now awakened from their long sleep, humanity's monsters would do what they were always meant to do. They would protect the galaxy, they would fight the darkness, and they would prove that sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones fighting on your side.